In one of our episodes of the Fingerboard Brew, we spoke to my friend Tom about graphic design and brand design overall, but also specifically in fingerboarding. Tom talked a little bit about some of the work that he did for Black River, so like the Bali decks that he did some design work for. You definitely need to check out that episode. I think it's such an interesting episode personally. Ever since that conversation, and also ever since I came up with the idea for the boardroom, I've wanted to delve deeper and speak to someone who does both graphic design and brand design for his own company. Today, I'm super excited to have Chris from Beastpants on this episode of The Boardroom.
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm the owner dude behind Beastpants.
You are probably one of the few people I know personally who found out about fingerboarding and from like a face-to-face interaction.
I started out, with the little plastic keychains. They're just like a little clamshell thing. The trucks were like attached, and there was just like a little axle going through the plastic wheels. And I, would get scrap grip tape and I'd put that on top of it and just kind of shred and just kind of thumb it, and I was a little kid. And then in high school, I started working at a skate shop, and that's when tech deck hit the scene, like in the late 90s. And when we were done like folding t-shirts at the end of the night or on a slow day, we would just shred on the counter. And there was like a company that made little obstacles, and so we'd shred on that. And at that point I was able to like ollie and do like impossibles, and then just like whatever random thing I could happen to do on accident. But I didn't have any kind of control. And then I was working at the other end of the skate industry for a small skate company, and I had a client come in, and they had an Eminent deck. Drake makes, Eminent. And he came and he saw that I had a tech deck on my desk, and he's like, oh, check this out. And he had a wooden one, and he did a kickflip like first try, and it just like blew my mind. And I had him get me one from Drake. I went on YouTube and I found like tutorials on how to do tricks, and eventually that led to tutorials on how to actually make fingerboards, like with Bondo molds. And I made my first fingerboard, and I even like shaped it with, I didn't have any tools. So like I used my grip tape on my skateboard to actually shape a fat rectangle thing into a usable skateboard deck.
I heard the first deck you pressed was a split ply?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Before I got into fingerboarding, I was painting, and I was cutting out like these shapes out of like watercolor paper with an X-Acto knife, and it's like thick paper. And then I would adhere that to the canvas and then do some other stuff with it. But while I was kind of discovering fingerboarding, I came across a brand called Zona Wood, and it was like a split ply small brand that was posting on the forums. They did like these cool split ply graphics. It was just like two interests coming together, right? Like my love for making art and just making stuff, and then also skateboarding and fingerboarding. It was just like this cool thing. And so I was like, all right, well, I lurked on the forums for like 2 months before I even posted anything. And so I was watching people make stuff, did a split ply, and it was just a I Heart LA, black and white, really simple split ply. And yeah, it worked, and I still have it somewhere in a box.
So I think it's really interesting that the first deck you pressed was a split ply, because nowadays when people purchase a Beastpants, it's a RealWare graphic. And for a long time, you were known for your splits. So
for sure.
What made you decide to change to graphics instead?
I definitely want to continue to do split plies, but right now I'm enjoying the design process. I just do all the graphics on the iPad. I just feel like I can get more detail. And there was like a point where I felt like I was just enjoying that process more than I was enjoying making split plies. And also I kind of did have like a little bit of a shoulder injury, and they are pretty labor intensive. And so I think initially, that's right, I had like a little bit of a shoulder injury. So I was like, I got to lay off the split plies for a bit. And then I just kind of, started doing the other stuff. And that's why I kind of stuck to it, because I was just enjoying it. I like the way they wear, I like this connection that it has with skateboarding, So I dig it.
So the other thing that you had back in like 2015 were obstacles. Would you maybe plan on doing obstacles again?
Yeah, well, I still have the molds for all three of the obstacles, the Baby Beast Bank, the Ned's Tomb, and the Dungeon Barrier. I still have those molds, and they're all in like pretty good condition. It's fun, and like all of those are like the main prototype or whatever is hand sculpted out of clay, and then I make a mold around that. I haven't really seen too many hand sculpted obstacles out there. They're so clean, and I feel like maybe they're done on a computer, which I kind of find that intimidating because like mine look kind of like lumpy by comparison. I don't know. But yes, I'm going to at some point, I promise.
Out of curiosity, how many decks do you press like in a day or in a week? Because you post like photos of the decks like pressed and like sprayed, and I'm like, how is he getting this stuff done so quickly?
It's the elves. It's the magic elves. So I just have like a daily routine. I get up in the morning. I've got 8 molds and press at least once a day. Sometimes I will press in the evening as well. Right when I get up, I'll have my cup of coffee, and then I'll throw decks in the mold, and then I will, go about shaping whatever I have to do that day, packing orders, whatever it is. But yeah, 8 to 16 decks Monday through Friday.
So let's talk a little bit about design and brand identity, because you're just one of the few companies in fingerboarding that I think not only has a distinct brand identity, but one that's really unique. How would you describe the visual identity of Beastpants?
I would say fun, above all else, irreverent. For me, I want the graphics to reflect what fingerboarding represents for me, and that is just have fun and take your fun seriously. I guess I take my graphics seriously, but I want them to be fun.
Why did you come up with sort of these mythical creatures for your graphics or for the brand identity?
I've always been like into like fantasy stuff. Like I grew up reading The Hobbit and like Lord of the Rings, and played video games and cartoons and that kind of stuff. I wanted to incorporate that kind of stuff because I find it interesting and fun. And if I enjoy doing it, then I'll continue doing it. And if other people enjoy what I do, then I try and keep doing that.
Have we met all the characters in the Beastpants universe, or do you think there are more to be discovered?
Oh, the Beastpants universe is vast and unending. So yeah, you'll definitely see some new creatures coming, I think, at some point. Got some new graphics coming, so.
In the last few releases, you've been doing sort of comic illustrations for graphic reveals, which we get to see more and more of the world that you've created. I was just wondering, have you ever thought of doing like a printed comic?
Oh, for sure. Like that would be amazing. Yeah, and the stories, I mean, I guess it's sort of like fulfilling that need to just make a goofy story thing, and I'm just like doing it, and yeah.
So I saw you tease some designs for, I think, upcoming graphics. What does that process of design look like for you?
Sometimes I'll see something very cool and I'll be like, oh, I want to put a Beastpants spin on it, so I'll just like steal it and then like cover it up enough so that people can't recognize where it's from originally. And then sometimes I'll just like have a random idea and I'll wonder what that would look like, and then I'll go on Google and then I'll search, like the graphic that I have with the cat with the horns and the people inside and the flames. I don't know if you saw me post that one. Yeah, that graphic's going to be called the Hellcat, obviously. I just had an idea, like I wanted to do the smoking cat, but like with its mouth and something crazy happening there. And then the thought of hell came to mind. I don't know why. It's super weird and random. And I found like a very old painting, and it was of hell. And I just kind of like incorporated that, and then I just did like the teeth, which I typically do some kind of monster teeth. I've done that a lot. And then like flames and the horns. Yeah, it's random. Sometimes it just like I'll get an idea and I'll want to like flesh it out and I'll draw it, So like, well, with the smoking cat, And actually the elves too are designed the way that they're designed because they were intended to be split plies originally. So they had to have sort of like simple lines. It had to like describe the character in as few cuts as possible. And then there are some like I'm redoing a version of the Split Wizard, and he's like over a book and he's like casting a spell or whatever, and the hands coming out of the book, it's like the spell coming out, it's like a bunch of different hands, and I just like took photographs of my hand, like in like fingerboard poses, you know, and like different angles, and then I basically just like traced my own hand. So like I take cheap shortcuts occasionally, and then sometimes I will like draw it out from scratch. So yeah, however I get there, I'm good with it.
I guess it just comes naturally to you, so you don't overthink it.
Yeah, that's the thing about Beastpants, is that I don't overthink stuff, really, ever. I don't. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just doing the stuff that I enjoy doing, and for some reason it's working. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Okay, so you were just saying just now that with the Smoking Cat and the Demon Boy, the original designs were meant for splits. There is a difference between designing a split ply and designing like from an iPad, obviously, because one is a lot less limiting. What are the differences between designing a split or designing like a full graphic?
Well, with split plies, I have to be aware of the wood grain, the direction that the wood grain goes. And I always have it, going vertically at the bottom ply. I try and have, this is like a cheat, but I try and have, a lot of vertical lines. And when I have to go horizontally, it's like when I do, like, just as a simple example, like the Smoking Cat heads, the ears are fine, the side is fine. And then when I get down here, it's a little gnarly. And then right across the top of the head, it's like, you got to really jam the X-Acto blade in there. But so like those are the things that you have to really consider when I'm making a split ply. Those are the things I have to consider. It's like the actual physical work of doing it. I think that split plies look better when they're a little bit more simple as opposed to like when they get too complex.
Does it help for like design purposes that you already have this fantasy world established, so there's kind of already a prompt?
It sort of happened like unfolding simultaneously. I think it started with just, I want to make like weird little fantasy characters. Then I was like, maybe I can like give them some silly personality. And then, so a lot of times, like in the early days, people would ask questions about how I did things. I felt that it wouldn't be fair to other deck makers to like give out the secrets, because I know like my other friends and people that have made decks, there's a lot of research and time and effort that goes into figuring out problems of how to make a good fingerboard. When people would ask me like how I would do something, I would tell them that it was the elves. Like, just because I found that was like a way to sort of like not answer the question, but like in a silly kind of fun way. And because I didn't want to be a dick, and I don't know. I think that the mythology kind of started there, and then it's sort of like I played with that concept of the elves actually being characters, like doing things. None of the characters are anything that I'd ever done before I started Beastpants. So.
Well, I was going to ask a little bit about working with Welcome Skateboards.
For sure.
What was that creative process like?
Amazing. They're super cool people. They dig fingerboarding, and the folks in the office fingerboard. They have like obstacles and stuff set up, and Jason, the owner of Welcome, has an extensive tech deck collection. He digs what I do, which is really amazing because the feeling is mutual. It's very chill. It's just like, what graphics do you guys want to do, and what shapes do you want to do? And I say shapes because we're currently working on the next collaboration that we'll be doing, which is happening, and we have another shape that will be dropping, one of their iconic shapes. You know, the shape of a fingerboard to a skateboard is proportionately slightly different, wider, whatever. So I try and capture what a welcome skateboard deck is to just like a regular popsicle shaped deck. I try and capture that, but in fingerboard form. So I'm not just doing like a straight up replica, like send me the vector file of the shape that you want to do, and then I'll just put that on a template and call it a day. Like I kind of tweak it, and then I'm like, hey, how does this look to you guys? And then they're like, great, or needs improvement or whatever. Actually it was just, they liked it. Like I got the first one, I got really lucky and just kind of nailed it, I guess.
Final two questions. First, what are some of your favorite deck companies?
There's like so many, and everybody's doing something that's very cool in their own way. But I've got to give it up to Vlad at Catfish. Like, I think he and I kind of came up at around the same time, and I just love what he does. I think he has a lot of integrity. And then I think that Wub, of course, Zach is amazing. I think he's like a fingerboard shaman or something. He's like on a whole level of appreciation for what we do. It's amazing. It's inspiring. Callier. There's so many. Flint is amazing. I could just go on and on, honestly. But I guess I'll stop there. But there's so many more, and yeah. And there's like new people coming out with rad stuff, Yang, and yeah, so.
All right, final question. Very mundane question maybe in comparison to the others, but what's your current fingerboard setup?
It's a Beast Squatch, and I just like shaped it, but I didn't like measure it really. So I don't know how wide it is. It's around a 31. That's what I've been running with FBS tape, Black River trucks, and flat face J wheels. Yeah, this deck I actually took 2 little strips of carbon fiber, and I put that like underneath one strip underneath the top ply and one strip underneath the bottom, or above the bottom ply. It's like indestructible. Like I've actually tried to break it and I can't. So it's a little heavy, like it feels heavier, but the pop is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a Beastpants, but that's kind of what I've been messing with. Yeah.
So is that maybe something to look forward to in the future?
Possibly, yeah. It's possibly. I think it's interesting. Yeah, I've got to work on it.
Where can people find Beastpants?
If you're looking to buy a Beastpants, you can go to www.beastpants.com, and Instagram, it's beast_pants.
All right. Thanks so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Annie. This has been great.